This is Get Real and Heal for high-performing women executives and entrepreneurs, where we discuss all things emotional healing and the relationships with yourself, your man, and your money. I'm your host, Jamila McMallow, wife, mother, certified cognitive behavioral therapy practitioner, mindset and relationship expert with over 20 years coaching and mentoring experience. I know that when you're the one that everyone else leans on, the leader and the trailblazer, it can be difficult to let your guard down, be vulnerable, and tend to your own emotions. So I hope today's discussion will allow you a moment to experience a life-changing realization, perhaps even a transformation. So let's begin and get real and heal. All right, so today we are talking about breaking relationship patterns, and I wanted to start off with a quick story, a trip down memory lane, as it were. When I was growing up, my mom, she loved to sew, and so we would probably every week, at least one time, go to the fabric store, and it was always fun to look at the patterns and to see the different types of outfits that she could make. And so we just love to look at it. It was almost like a catalog. And they even had catalogs of different patterns that you could order or pick out. And we loved it because of what the pattern was going to create for us. Now, when it comes to our patterns in relationships, it's similar, but slightly different. If the pattern matches the picture, then yes, that's what you're going to get. But the truth is, for a lot of us in our relationships, especially when it comes to our relationships with men, the pattern that's inside does not match the picture on the outside. So imagine you go into the fabric store and you look and you see, oh, wow, this is a beautiful dress. I want that. And you buy it and you bring it home. But the pattern inside is actually for a jacket. Well, what do you think is going to happen when you try to sew those pieces together? You're not going to get a dress. Instead, you're going to find yourself frustrated, disappointed, not understanding why it's not working, why it's not coming together. It doesn't look like the picture. What's happening? What's happening is you have the wrong pattern. You know what you want, but you don't have the right pattern for it. And so the same thing is true when it comes to our relationships with men. A lot of times, we want this happy, healthy, fulfilling relationship that's leading to marriage. But what we're working with actually does not support us, not only not attracting that, but even being able to create it. Because the real issue, sometimes we think, oh, we just have to find somebody and we'll be able to figure it out. Or maybe you're with someone that you're dating and you're trying to figure it out and make it work again. You're trying to turn a jacket into a dress. When the fact is, you need to actually change the pattern, get the right pattern, and then it will come together and produce the dress or the relationship that you are desiring to have with a man who is ideal and compatible. A lot of time gets wasted trying to force a round circle into a square peg. It's the same with your pattern. You keep trying to make it fit something that it's never going to, because that's not it. Your pattern is not to attract good, healthy men who are financially thriving. How do you know? Look at your results. That will tell you. Who are you attracting? Who are the type of men that are approaching you? Who are the type of men that you're currently entertaining through textuationships, situationships, halfway friendship, halfway, well, at least I have somebody to do something with. What are those men like? Because I guarantee you wouldn't be entertaining them if you were actually dealing with a man who was committed to you and you were in a solid relationship where you had a title like girlfriend, fiance, that was leading to the ultimate desire that you have, which is to become the wife, a wife to a great man. And I want you to really allow this to sink in, because what I don't want you to do is to start beating yourself up and thinking, oh, wow, it's my fault. It's my fault. It's not, but it's not your fault as far as where the pattern came from. Okay, that came from childhood. But the fact that you are actively choosing these men, yes, you have to take ownership and responsibility for that. Because if you can do that, then you can say, okay, well, if I am drawn to these types of men that I actually don't want, but some part of me does want them, if it's me, then that means I can change it. because the only person you ever always and only have power over is you, and you can change you at any time. You get to reinvent yourself at any time. You get to reinvent your love life at any time. You are not stuck in a pattern. Now, if we're going back to this analogy of the fabric store, it's not enough to just have, you know, to know that you have the wrong pattern. Like, oh, this is for a jacket. Great. But if you don't know where the pieces are for the dress, or you don't know how to get the right pattern, then you still are no wiser, other than that, okay, great, I have the wrong pattern, so I'm not going to keep trying to make a dress out of this. However, I don't know how to actually create the results that I desire. And so simply uncovering your pattern isn't enough. You have to actually crush it. You have to eliminate it. You have to get rid of it and create a new pattern that matches what it is that you are desiring. Okay? Now, I know I'm going pretty deep pretty quickly, and that's on purpose, because this is what I do. This is the podcast, Get Real and Heal. I'm not going to deal on surface level stuff that's not going to actually help you get traction, that's not going to actually help you get what you want, because what I'm telling you right now is that if your results, meaning the type of men that you are attracting, the type of men that you're currently talking to and dealing with, if they are not ideal, if they're not compatible, if they're not what you want, then that's telling you that you have a pattern. In fact, you can line up all your last 2 or 3 guys that you've dated, line them up on a piece of paper and start writing down the similarities. That's going to expose to you a pattern. And this pattern didn't just start when you grew up and started dealing with adult men. It actually was formed in childhood. All of the work that I do with my clients deals with the root cause, so that we're actually dealing with a solution. Not just talking about stuff that happened in the past, not just talking about, dating tips and tricks and how to do this and that, jumping through hoops. And no. The problem is, your only problem is the type of men that you're dealing with. You are an amazing woman. You're an incredible woman. You've built a phenomenal career. You didn't do that by not knowing how to talk to men. You didn't know that by not knowing how to communicate your thoughts, feelings, all those types of things. That's not the issue. So you don't have a dating problem. You have an attraction problem, which is because of your pattern. So we talked about how you uncover your pattern, but how do you crush it? Well, you have to go to the root origin of it. And the fact is, your pattern is rooted in childhood. Our fathers, by their presence or absence, teach us what to expect from men. And our mothers, by their presence or absence and interactions with men, teach us what to tolerate. So our parents' examples, whether they were with us or not, still impacted us. We still told ourselves something about ourselves as little girls that shaped what we have come to expect and tolerate from men. And it's mostly linked to a feeling. What is the familiar feeling? If your dad worked, let's say your parents were married, because sometimes I've dealt with women who think, oh, well, my dad was, there. My parents are still married today, so I don't have any daddy issues, or I don't have issues with my dad. And I'm like, oh, honey, you do. Why? Because even if we had a great life growing up, none of our parents were perfect. So we all experience childhood trauma. Trauma just means a painful event. All of our parents hurt us inadvertently, unintentionally, because they're not perfect. And they couldn't give us what they didn't have. And some of the things that they said, did, and taught us caused us harm, in that it has kept us from getting the results that we want in our life. We're telling ourselves things that we were told by them that's no longer working for us. And so it's okay as an adult to acknowledge that, decide what you're going to keep, and release the rest. Most of what they gave you was good, or you wouldn't be where you are today. We acknowledge that. We express gratitude for it. This isn't about your parents. Their time with you is done. This is about you standing on your own 2 feet as a grown woman and owning the fact that you are responsible for your choices and decisions and the outcomes that you are creating and producing in your life. And so when you can own that, it empowers you to be able to move forward and change and transform into the type of woman who is able to create the relationships that you desire. So when you go to the root and you understand, well, how did I develop this pattern in the first place? Now you can crush it, because there are stories, beliefs, emotions, traumas attached to that pattern. And like I said, it's a feeling. So if your dad worked all the time and he was never home, as a little girl, you don't say to yourself, oh, wow, this my dad, he's working to support the family. No, little kids don't think like that. They think in very black and white. Wow, work is more important than me. Wow, dad is never home. So what's the feeling that I'm going to expect from men? I should expect men to not be available for me. I should feel that he's not really there for me. I should expect that he's going to work, pay the bills, but emotionally, I'm on my own. That's the feeling that is familiar. And so if you have found yourself in relationships with men where you're like, man, why does it feel like, it's almost like I have to chase him or he's never there for me. It's because, believe it or not, that's your pattern. That's what is familiar to you. That's what you're drawn to, because that feeling is your pattern. And so your brain is just simply doing what it's created to do, which is it is attracted to what is familiar to you. That's really all your pattern is it's what's familiar to you. Okay. We could simplify it even more. That's it. So yes, how you grew up, how you experienced your dad, how you experienced your mom, the things that people said in your community, your culture, all those things, yes, shaped what is familiar to your brain. And so unknowingly, it's simply going out and creating the results that you believe to be true, because linked to that pattern are some beliefs about what you believe to be true and possible for you in relationships with men, whether it be what I just said, they always work, or they're not there for me emotionally, or I can't expect much. Those types of beliefs are going to dictate now what your brain goes out and attracts and looks for. Okay, because we are all bombarded with tons of information at all times, but our brain filters out only what is pertinent and relevant to us and brings it to our attention. Well, how does it determine what's the filter? It's our belief system. It's what we believe to be true and possible for ourselves. And in this realm, when it comes to men and relationships. And that is the pattern, which is, of course, those familiar feelings that we picked up from childhood that told us that this is how it is supposed to be. And so as long as that's your truth, that this is how it's supposed to be, you will always continue to attract and create those results in your life, specifically when it comes to your relationships with men. So it is not the best use of your time to try to invest in learning how to talk to men, learning how to, navigate relationships and all those things, because you're not solving the real issue, which is why do I continue to attract these type of men? Because if I actually attracted a different caliber of man, a high caliber quality man with whom I am compatible, who shares my beliefs and values, morals, desires, ambitions, then all of those other issues would go away. You probably wouldn't have much trouble talking to him, would ya? Probably wouldn't have a whole lot of challenges respecting him and how you communicate with him and your tone and your demeanor and all those things. That's not going to be an issue when you're dealing with someone that makes you feel poured into, filled up, like you're important, like you matter, like he loves and values you. You're going to behave differently when you're in a relationship with a man like that. So that's the real issue. That's the real problem, is attracting the ideal man for you. I didn't say perfect, because no man is perfect, but the ideal man for you. All right. So it's important for you to understand what your pattern is and to take ownership for it, and then to do the deliberate and intentional work to crush that pattern. I dig more into this in my free masterclass, How to Find Your Ideal Man. And if you'd like more information on that, I encourage you to visit findingyourhusband.com, and you can register for that masterclass. And I know that you are going to get tons out of it, because I'm breaking all of these things down in even greater detail. So thank you for listening today, and I will see you next time. Visit CoachJamila.com, where you'll find the links to connect with me on social media and more information on my private coaching for high-performing women.